Welcome back to the Game of Sales, the podcast that gives you the strategies, frameworks, and tools to win more deals and stand out in an increasingly competitive market. I'm your host, Desi Barnes, and today we're kicking off week 4, Mastering the Art of Differentiation. Here's the truth. In sales, being good isn't enough. Buyers don't just need to know what you do, they need to know why you're the best choice. And in a world where everyone claims to have the best solution, standing out is harder than ever. This episode is called What Makes You Unique? Defining Your Differentiator. And we're going to get crystal clear on one thing. Why should your buyers choose you over everyone else? By the end of today's episode, you'll have a proven framework to identify, articulate, and leverage your differentiator, the thing that makes you impossible to ignore. Let's get into it. Let me ask you something. What makes you different from your competitors? If a buyer asked you that question right now, could you answer it clearly, confidently, and in under 30 seconds? Most sales reps can't. Instead, they fall into one of 3 traps. They say something vague, like, we offer great service. They focus on features, like, our platform has this cool tool. Or worse, they sound exactly like every other vendor out there. Here's why this is a problem. Buyers don't buy on features, they buy on differentiation. They buy from the seller who can clearly answer, why you? Why now? What makes you the best choice to solve their problem? And if you can't answer those questions, you're leaving deals on the table. Let me give you an example. A sales rep I worked with, we'll call him James, was pitching a CRM platform to a mid-sized company. The buyer said, we're already looking at a few other CRMEs. What makes yours different? James froze. He started listing features. Well, we have customizable dashboards, easy integrations, and 24/7 support. The buyer replied, yeah, but everyone says that. What makes you different? James didn't have an answer. The deal stalled, and the buyer went with someone else. Here's what James missed. Buyers don't care about what you do. They care about what you do differently and how that difference helps them win. So here's the big question. What makes you unique? Today we're going to break that down into 3 steps. How to identify your differentiator. How to articulate it clearly and confidently. How to leverage your differentiator throughout the sales process to win more deals. By the end of this episode, you'll have a simple, repeatable framework to stand out in any conversation, earn your buyer's trust, and position yourself as the only logical choice. Because here's the truth. If you can't define what makes you unique, your buyer will assume you're just like everyone else. And in today's market, being just another option isn't going to cut it. If you're ready to define what sets you apart and use it to dominate your next sales conversation, let's dive into Tactic 1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
How to identify your differentiator. Let's kick things off with Tactic 1. How to identify your differentiator. Here's the hard truth. If you can't explain what makes you different, your buyer will assume you're the same as everyone else. And when all options look the same, the buyer defaults to one thing, price. That's a race you don't want to be in. The good news? You do have something that makes you unique. You just need to find it, define it, and turn it into your competitive edge. So how do you do that? In this tactic, I'll walk you through a simple 3-step process to identify your differentiator. Find the overlap between what you do well and what your buyers value. Gather proof to back up your claims. Turn it into a clear, compelling statement you can use in any conversation. Let's get into it. Step 1. Find the overlap between what you do well and what your buyers value. The first step is to identify where your strengths overlap with what your buyers actually care about. Most reps make the mistake of focusing on features or general statements like, we have great service, or we've been in business for 20 years. But here's the thing, buyers don't care about what you think is great. They care about what solves their problems and helps them achieve their goals. So, how do you find that overlap? Use this framework: strengths. What do you or your company do better than anyone else? Buyer value. What matters most to your buyers? What problems are they trying to solve? The overlap. What strengths directly address the outcomes your buyers care about? Example. Let's say you sell a project management platform. Here's how this works. Your strength. Your platform reduces project delays by 30% because of its advanced real-time tracking. Buyer value. Your buyers struggle with missed deadlines and need a way to improve productivity. The overlap. We help teams reduce delays by 30% so they can deliver projects on time every time. Now, instead of saying something vague like, we're a user friendly tool, you're highlighting a specific buyer focused differentiator. We solve your delay problem and help you hit your deadlines. Action step. Take a minute to write down 3 things you or your company do exceptionally well. The top 3 problems or goals your buyers care about. Where those two lists overlap, that's where your differentiator lives. Asterisk. Step 2. Gather proof to back up your claims. Once you've identified your differentiator, the next step is to back it up with proof. Here's why. Anyone can claim to be the best or the fastest. Buyers don't believe claims, they believe proof. There are 3 types of proof you can use: quantifiable results, numbers that show the impact of your solution. Example, we helped our clients reduce costs by 15% in their first 3 months. Client stories, real life examples of how you've solved similar problems for others. Example, one of our clients struggled with missed deadlines. After implementing our system, they cut delays by 30% in 2 months. Unique processes or expertise, a specific way you do things that gives your buyers better results. Example, our onboarding process is designed to get your team fully operational in 14 days, half the time of most platforms. Real example, a rep I worked with sold cybersecurity software. Their differentiator was faster response times for security breaches, but instead of just claiming that, they gathered proof. Quantifiable result. We respond to breaches in under 10 minutes, 3 times faster than the industry average. Client story. One client experienced a breach that would have shut them down for a day. We contained it in 8 minutes and saved them $100,000 in downtime. Proof makes your differentiator credible and undeniable. Without it, you're just another salesperson making promises. Action step: for each differentiator you wrote down, gather one piece of proof: a stat, client story, or unique process that validates your claim. Step 3. Turn it into a clear, compelling differentiator statement. The final step is to turn your differentiator into a clear, compelling statement you can use in any sales conversation. This is where you combine the overlap you found in step 1 with the proof you gathered in step 2. Here's the formula. We help buyers solve problem by unique approach, which delivers proof or outcome. Let me give you a few examples. Software platform. We help growing teams deliver projects on time by reducing delays with real-time tracking, which cuts project overruns by 30%. Cybersecurity solution. We protect businesses from costly breaches by responding 3 times faster than the industry average, saving companies an average of $100,000 per incident. Consulting service. We help healthcare organizations improve staffing efficiency by using AI-powered scheduling, which increases shift coverage by 25%. This formula works because it's simple, buyer-focused, and backed by proof. It answers the key question every buyer has: why should I choose you? Action step. Take your differentiator and write it out using this formula. Practice saying it out loud until you can deliver it clearly, confidently, and in under 30 seconds. Here's the key takeaway. If you don't define what makes you different, the buyer will define it for you. Or worse, they'll lump you in with everyone else. By finding the overlap between your strengths and buyer value, gathering proof, and turning it into a clear statement, you're positioning yourself as the obvious choice. You're no longer just another option. You're the answer to their problem. The challenge. Here's your challenge for the week. Write down 3 things you or your company do exceptionally well. Identify the top 3 problems or goals your buyers care about. Find the overlap, gather proof to back it up, and write out your differentiator using this formula. We help buyers solve problem by a unique approach, which delivers proof or outcome. Practice delivering your statement until it's second nature. Use it on your next 5 sales calls and see what happens. When you can clearly define what makes you different and back it up, you won't just stand out, you'll win. Tactic 2. How to articulate your differentiator clearly and confidently. Alright, now that you've identified your differentiator, it's time for tactic 2. How to articulate your differentiator clearly and confidently. Here's the thing. A great differentiator doesn't mean much if you can't communicate it in a way that makes buyers sit up and say, "That's exactly what we need." Most reps stumble here. They either overcomplicate their message with jargon and details that confuse the buyer, undercommunicate it, making it sound vague and forgettable, deliver it with hesitation, which makes buyers lose confidence. The best sales pros deliver their differentiator in a way that's clear, crisp, and powerful, so it hits home every single time. In this tactic, I'll show you how to simplify your message so it's crystal clear. Tailor it to what your buyer cares about most. Tactic 2. How to articulate your differentiator clearly and confidently. Alright, now that you've identified your differentiator, it's time for tactic 2. How to articulate your differentiator clearly and confidently. Here's the thing. A great differentiator doesn't mean much if you can't communicate it in a way that makes buyers sit up and say, "That's exactly what we need." Most reps stumble here. They either overcomplicate their message with jargon and details that confuse the buyer, undercommunicate it, making it sound vague and forgettable, deliver it with hesitation, which makes buyers lose confidence. The best sales pros deliver their differentiator in a way that's clear, crisp, and powerful, so it hits home every single time. In this tactic, I'll show you how to simplify your message so it's crystal clear, tailor it to what your buyer cares about most, deliver it with confidence and conviction. Let's get into it. Step 1. Simplify your message so it's crystal clear. The first step is to simplify your message. If your differentiator is complex or full of jargon, it'll go over your buyer's head, and if they don't understand it, they won't value it. Here's the rule. If a 12-year-old can't understand your differentiator, it's not clear enough. To simplify your message, follow the one-sentence rule. Your differentiator must be delivered in one clear, buyer-focused sentence. Here's the formula we used earlier. We help buyers solve problem by a unique approach, which delivers proof or outcome. Let's revisit some examples. Software solution. We help growing teams deliver projects on time by reducing delays with real-time tracking, which cuts project overruns by 30%. Consulting service. We help healthcare organizations improve staffing efficiency with AI-powered scheduling, increasing shift coverage by 25%. Notice how simple these are? There's no jargon, no fluff, just a clear statement of value. Pro tip. Once you simplify your differentiator, test it out. Share it with a colleague or someone outside your industry and ask, "Does this make sense?" If they're confused, tighten it up further. Step 2. Tailor it to what your buyer cares about most. The second step is to tailor your differentiator to match what your buyer values most. Here's the reality. Not every buyer cares about the same things. A VP of sales might care about increasing revenue, while a COO might care about reducing inefficiencies. If you deliver a one-size-fits-all message, it won't hit the mark. Here's how you tailor your differentiator in 3 steps. Listen for their priorities. In discovery, ask questions like, What's the biggest challenge you're trying to solve right now? What does success look like for you? Adapt your differentiator to match their needs. Use their language to show how your unique value addresses their goals. Connect the dots. Explicitly tie your differentiator to their desired outcomes. Example, let's say your differentiator is we reduce project delays by 30% with real time tracking. For a vice president of operations, you mentioned that missed deadlines are a top challenge for your team. Our platform cuts project delays by 30% so you can hit your deadlines consistently. For a CFO, you're looking to improve ROI on your tools. By reducing delays by 30%, we help companies deliver projects on time and avoid costly overruns. See the difference? Same differentiator, tailored to what matters most to the buyer. Step 3. Deliver it with confidence and conviction. The final step is to deliver your differentiator with confidence and conviction. Here's why this matters. If you don't sound confident in your message, your buyer won't believe it. Confidence isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Here's how to nail your delivery. Own your message. Practice saying your differentiator out loud until it feels natural. You should be able to deliver it without hesitation. Use your tone intentionally. Avoid sounding robotic. Speak clearly, pause for impact, and emphasize key phrases to show belief in your value. Back it up immediately. Follow up with proof or an example to reinforce your claim. Example, you. We help teams reduce project delays by 30% with real-time tracking, which ensures they hit their deadlines consistently. Pause, then add, for example, one of our clients was struggling with constant overruns. Within 2 months, they delivered every project on time and saved $50,000 in costs. When you deliver your differentiator with confidence and back it up with proof, you make it impossible to ignore. Your buyer doesn't just hear your message, they believe it. Here's the key takeaway. Clarity, relevance, and confidence win every time. When you simplify your differentiator, tailor it to your buyer's needs, and deliver it with conviction, you're not just explaining what makes you unique, you're proving it. You're showing the buyer that choosing you isn't just an option, it's the smartest decision they can make. Here's your challenge for the week. Write out your differentiator in one clear sentence using the formula. We help buyers solve a problem by unique approach, which delivers proof or outcome. Practice tailoring it to 3 different buyer personas. Think about what a vice president of sales, a chief financial officer, or a chief operating officer might care about. Record yourself delivering your differentiator with confidence. Listen back and refine your tone, pauses, and delivery until it feels natural and strong. Test this in your next 5 sales calls. Watch how buyers respond when you articulate your value clearly, confidently, and in a way that speaks directly to their priorities. All right, that wraps up Tactic 2. Next, we'll dive into Tactic 3. How to use your differentiator throughout the sales process so you can reinforce your unique value at every stage and close deals faster. Stay with me, you don't want to miss it. Tactic 3. How to use your differentiator throughout the sales process. Now that you've identified your differentiator and learned how to articulate it clearly and confidently, it's time for the final tactic, how to use your differentiator throughout the sales process. Here's the thing. Most sales reps only bring up their differentiator during the pitch or at the close, but by then it's too late. Your differentiator isn't just a one-time statement. It's a tool you should be using at every stage of the sales process to build trust, reinforce value, and move the deal forward. In this tactic, I'll show you how to leverage your differentiator in 3 key moments. The opening, creating a strong first impression. The discovery, reinforcing value while building trust. The close, tying your differentiator to their decision. Let's break it down. Step 1. The opening, creating a strong first impression. The opening stage is where you set the tone. Whether it's a cold call, an email, or the first 5 minutes of a meeting, This is your chance to hook the buyer and grab their attention. Here's how you use your differentiator in the opening. Lead with what makes you unique. Buyers are bombarded with generic outreach every day. Stand out by starting with your differentiator. Tie it to a specific problem or outcome the buyer cares about. Make it clear why your unique value matters to them. Example, cold call opener. You. Hi. Name. I'll keep this quick. I'm your name with company, and we help operations teams deliver projects 30% faster with real-time tracking that eliminates delays. Does improving project delivery sound like a priority for you right now? Why this works. You're immediately differentiating yourself by leading with what makes you unique and tying it to their potential pain point. You're not wasting their time. You're showing value up front. Example, email opener, subject line, deliver projects on time, every time. Body, hi, name. I noticed your team's growing rapidly and hitting deadlines is more critical than ever. We've helped companies like Client Name reduce project delays by 30% using our real-time tracking system. Would you be open to a quick 10-minute conversation to see how we could help your team too? Action step. Review your cold call and email scripts. Lead with your differentiator in the opening and connect it to a relevant pain point or outcome. Step 2. The discovery, reinforcing value while building trust. The discovery phase is where you dig deeper into the buyer's challenges, goals, and priorities. This is also the perfect time to reinforce your differentiator, not by repeating it, but by connecting it to what you're learning about the buyer. Here's how you use your differentiator in discovery. Ask questions that lead to your differentiator. Focus on uncovering problems or priorities that align with what makes you unique. Connect their answers to your differentiator. Show them how your unique value directly solves their challenges. Example, you. What's been your biggest challenge with delivering projects on time? Buyer. We just don't have visibility into where delays are happening until it's too late. You. That makes sense, and it's a challenge we hear often. One of the ways we stand out is with real-time tracking that gives you visibility into every stage of your projects so you can address delays before they become a problem. How much impact would that have on your team? What's happening here? You're not pitching. You're connecting the buyer's needs to your differentiator. You're proving that what makes you unique is exactly what they need. Pro tip. Use discovery to uncover opportunities to tell stories that reinforce your differentiator. For example, one of our clients faced the same challenge, and within 2 months of implementing our system, they reduced delays by 30% and saved $50,000 in costs. Action step. Write out 3 discovery questions that naturally lead to your differentiator. Practice connecting their answers back to your unique value. Step 3. The close. Tying your differentiator to their decision. The close is where everything comes together. By this point, you've highlighted your differentiator in the opening, reinforced it during discovery, and built trust with the buyer. Now, it's time to tie it directly to their decision. Here's how you use your differentiator in the close. Restate their key priorities and challenges. Show the buyer you understand what matters most to them. Connect your differentiator to those priorities. Reaffirm how your unique value solves their problem better than anyone else. Ask a question that moves the deal forward. Example, you. From what you shared, delivering projects on time is critical for your team, and the lack of visibility has been a major hurdle. What makes us different is our real-time tracking system, which has helped teams like yours reduce delays by 30% and save thousands in overruns. Are you ready to implement a solution that helps you hit your deadlines consistently? Why this works. You're not just asking for the close, you're tying your differentiator directly to what they care about. You're making the decision feel like the logical next step. Pro tip. At the close, back up your differentiator one last time with proof. A stat, case study, or story that reinforces your value. Action step. Practice closing conversations using this framework. Restate priorities. Connect your differentiator. Move to the next step confidently. Here's the key takeaway. Your differentiator isn't just something you say once, it's something you weave into every stage of the sales process. In the opening, it grabs attention and sets you apart. In discovery, it builds trust and connects to their needs. In the close, it reinforces value and makes the decision feel like a no-brainer. The more consistently you highlight your differentiator, the harder it becomes for the buyer to see anyone else as a better option. Here's your challenge for the week. Review your sales process and identify where you're currently talking about your differentiator. Update your scripts and frameworks to include your differentiator at these 3 points: the opening, the discovery, the close. Test this on your next 5 calls. Track how buyers respond when you consistently highlight what makes you unique at every stage. Remember, buyers don't buy on features, they buy on differentiation. Make sure your unique value is crystal clear from the first conversation to the final close. Alright, that wraps up Tactic 3. Coming up next, we'll tie everything together with a recap and challenge to help you implement these strategies right away. Stay with me. You're going to want to take action on this one. Recap and actionable challenge. Alright, let's bring this episode home with a quick recap and a challenge to help you start defining and leveraging your differentiator. Today, we tackled one of the most critical skills in sales: standing out in a crowded market. If you can't answer the question, why should I choose you, then you're leaving the decision up to chance. Here's what we covered today. Tactic 1, how to identify your differentiator. Focus on the overlap between what you do exceptionally well and what your buyers care about most. Back it up with proof, quantifiable results, client stories, or unique processes. Turn it into one clear, compelling statement that answers why you. Tactic 2, how to articulate your differentiator clearly and confidently. Simplify your message. Use one clear sentence that anyone can understand. Tailor your differentiator to match what each buyer cares about most. Deliver it with confidence and conviction, backing it up with proof to make it stick. Tactic 3, how to use your differentiator throughout the sales process. In the opening, use your differentiator to grab attention and stand out. In discovery, connect your differentiator to their priorities and challenges. In the close, tie your unique value directly to their goals to make the decision feel like a no-brainer. The bottom line, your differentiator is your competitive edge, but only if you know how to use it. Make it clear, make it relevant, make it consistent at every stage of the sales process. Here's your challenge for this week. Write out your differentiator in one sentence using this formula. We help buyers solve problem by unique approach, which delivers proof or outcome. Tailor your differentiator to 3 different buyer personas. Think about what matters most to a vice president of sales, a chief financial officer, or a chief operating officer, and adjust your message to speak to their priorities. Practice delivering your differentiator in 3 key moments: the opening to grab attention, discovery to connect it to their needs, the close to tie it back to their decision. Test this on your next 5 calls. Pay attention to how buyers respond when you deliver your differentiator clearly, confidently, and consistently. Track the results. You'll start to see buyers lean in, trust you more, and see your solution as the obvious choice. If today's episode gave you a new perspective, share it with someone on your team or a sales pro who needs to hear it. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I'm Desi, and this is the game of sales. Keep showing up, keep sharpening your edge, and keep closing strong. I'll see you next time.
1, 2,